Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher alongside Adam Caplan for the second part of our two-part podcast preview. When I say preview, I mean 53-man roster projection type preview. Our last one, Adam and I went through the offensive players, and this time we're going to go through the defensive roster and try to give our best guess of who's going to make the cut, who's not, but not just who, Adam. We've been going into what their strengths are, what their weaknesses, what kind of competition lies ahead. And so we try to do this thing from soup to nuts. And I thought the last one got a lot of good responses. So I'm looking forward to doing defense with you.
Yeah, I am. So, we dropped some notes, some sleepers per position, which we're going to do on this one today. And the nice thing is it's the initial 53, but it gives everyone kind of an idea of who the players are, who the guys you really should be keying on. Other than the obvious players, we give you some names you're not familiar with, and which we'll also do in today's show. And then what we'll do is probably late June, early July, we'll probably revisit. There have been more players added. Some players have been cut, and we'll have better information on these players because they'll have at least gone through their off season of virtual learning. And then hopefully, Geoff, they will get on the field in late July or early August.
We all have our fingers crossed, Adam, because,
yes.
It would really help them. And I think baseball will kind of show us the way as far as what can and can't be done. And I look forward to seeing what happens with that. And hopefully everything works out. So I'm for not just sports, but for all of us. I want to remind people that we had a great and I think a very compelling and powerful interview with Brian Dawkins last week. Brian has become a big advocate of mental health awareness, and we spoke about that with him. It is on our ITB YouTube channel, ITB TV. So please go check it out. We also did get into some Eagles. I thought he had some really interesting things to say about the obviously Kevon Wallace, the Clemson safety the Eagles drafted, who Brian knows and his son roomed with at college, and also on team speed. You asked him about, what that's going to do for the offense and just, his time in the front office.
Yeah, it was great. You'll learn a lot about the struggles he went through. Some of them, look, I know Brian was public about it, but I didn't realize where it started for him and how he got help, and learned a lot about positivity and something which we talked about in the last show. So it's great. And I love his breakdown of Wallace, and just, he's like, look, he's a rookie. Let it happen. It's kind of what you have to do with rookies. You can get excited, but they're rookies and they don't always work out, or sometimes it takes them a little bit longer to get started. And without having an off season where you're on the field, you got to be patient. I mean, it's been 9 years since the NFL has been through not having an off season for players. 2011 was the last time, and they've learned a lot through that since that time. And there was a great interview, which you could find it on our YouTube page. And not only that, parts 1 and parts 2 with Joe Banner, which is also on our podcast portion, but you can also watch it on YouTube.
That's right.
So, and by the way, I will debut my new and improved. Actually, I had it before, but I've redesigned it a little bit. I actually have a Skype YouTube studio, which starting next week I'll be in for the rest of the way.
Nice.
So we'll do that. Yeah. So I spent Sunday doing that because I'm doing a lot more, a lot of radio stations. If I have the capability, want me to do it, I'm like, all right, sure. So I'll do that. Cool. And obviously for what we're doing, it's really good because you and I, to get our timing down, it's great. And we do these. It's really going to help us do the YouTube because you and I are doing more YouTube together all the time now. We were kind of doing it sporadically now we're doing it just about every week, so I look forward to that and doing it in my little studio.
That's right. So make sure you're subscribed to the Inside the Birds YouTube channel because we really are putting a lot of content on there. Also, I noticed, Adam, that not only is it cool to be on the Inside the Birds Facebook page and the Inside the Birds community group, but now some people, and we've credited the people who are on our community page for really engaging in really good discussions, especially for social media. But you can become a top fan. A couple of our, top posters on the Inside the Birds message board were rewarded by Facebook with a top fan type medal or icon badge that they get, and people were proud of that. So we're getting close to 1,000 members. Yeah, it is pretty cool. It's nice to be recognized for something.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's awesome.
Definitely.
So we appreciate it. Great discussions, very, very smart discussions. And if you go there, you could do it along with us. So Geoff and I are doing these initial look at the 53-man roster. Well, what I did is I posed the question to our members on our Facebook page, and you could see the thread. We probably got 25 people who are involved in it. I mean, a lot of you are on the page already, so you might as well give us your initial 53 on offense and defense, and I'll take a look at it. So will Geoff, and we enjoy the discussion, and it's going to be fun to do this, man. It certainly is, because there are going to be some surprises. By the way, there are going to be some roster moves coming up at some point over the next 4 to 6 weeks, so this could change a little bit.
Yeah, and by the way, I forgot to do it last episode, so I'm going to do it this episode. I have a great story about predicting the 53-man roster that goes back almost 10 years now that I want to share with our listeners. It's a fun story, and I'll talk about it in a second. Real quick before we get into everything, I do want to remind people, Inside the Birds is now partnered with 97.3 ESPN in South Jersey, which is a show, a drive time show, the Sports Bash from 2 to 6 o'clock, hosted by Mike Gill and our own Hunter Brody. Everybody who listens to this have heard us mention both of those names before, and the station. But Inside the Birds has taken over the 4 o'clock football at 4 slot. So every day from Monday through Friday is going to be someone from Inside the Birds, whether it's you, Adam, me, or our own Andrew DeCecco, is going to be on at 4 o'clock to talk birds with Mike Gill and Hunter Brody. So your day is always going to be Thursday. My day is going to be Monday and Wednesday, and Andrew DeCecco will be doing Tuesday and Friday. So every single day, 4 o'clock, football at 4, Mike and Hunter will ask the questions. We'll provide the answers. And then if you miss it, if you can't be it, if you can't download the free mobile app, you can go to our YouTube page, the Inside the Birds YouTube page, and listen to it, because we put the podcast on the YouTube page. So I'm really looking forward to that. I know last week we posted yours and Andrew's from Thursday and Friday, and already they've gotten over 1,500 views each. So really look forward to people getting involved with that.
Yeah, so I'm every Thursday, and it's usually about a half an hour segment. It's posted within a half an hour, and it's YouTube's great. You know, we didn't use it a lot in the beginning, but now we're seeing how useful it is for our followers here, our subscribers, and yet another way to connect, man. Where we're doing Zoom, we're doing YouTube, we're doing Apple download podcasts. I don't know what's next. Whatever technology is out there, we're probably going to wind up doing it.
Well, let's just hope that there's not too many advancements more between now and then. We just barely got to YouTube and Facebook, right? The last thing we need is another, as Bill Belichick would say, like an Insta Snap to come along where everybody's all involved. Yeah. Insta Face and My Book or something crazy.
My Face, yeah.
My Face.
I will never forget that when he did that. It's so ridiculous. But that's Belichick, best head coach of all time in the National Football League. And by the way, one thing before we get started here, Geoff, and I'm noticing our traffic on previously listened to shows or in our archives, the Greg Cosell shows are getting hit hard because I forgot about this. Greg, before the draft, broke down a lot of players, including receivers, and then our post-draft pod with Greg, he went over every single Eagles draft pick, except I think maybe a couple of the linemen. But the great thing is Rager, Davion Taylor, and several other players, listen to it, because you're going to get a bird's eye view of who these guys are.
Yeah, I would actually, you're right. Listen to both. Listen to one where he previewed some of the picks, and then the one where he reviewed after the draft, because both are really worthy of a listen. All right, you ready for my story?
Go ahead.
The greatest accomplishment I ever had as an Eagles beat writer, and I've broken some pretty decent stories in my lifetime, but no doubt about it, the greatest accomplishment I ever had was in 2012. Now, at that point, I forget who runs it among the beat. Someone every year, I think it's Jimmy Kempski now, but somebody every year took everybody's 53-man projection the day before of the deadline, and whatever beat writer got the most number right, it's like, yay, congratulations. There was nothing given, but, you get like bragging rights, right? Well, I don't remember if I won that year, but that year specifically, the Eagles really needed a safety. I mean, it was 2012. It's 4 years after Dawkins departed. We've gone through names, right? I mean, every single name of guy they have failed and failed miserably on. And they're in camp, and I forget who they had that year even coming out of camp, but they didn't have anybody other than maybe Quentin Michael. No, Quentin Michael's already on the Rams at that point. So they got nobody. Okay?
Jaquan Jarrett, let me guess, you had him off the team.
Jaquan Jarrett, that might have been his rookie year, so he's probably on the team.
11, I think he was 11. Yeah, he was
right. That's true. So here's the deal. At this point, I know that when the Eagles need a player, the first thing they do is they usually go calling around to teams that they know well, meaning that there's some kind of attachment. And at that point, I know there were a bunch of coaches, Spagnuolo, I believe, was the head coach at that point. Pat Shurmur was a head coach in Cleveland. Rivera was down in Carolina. So what I did was I knew the Eagles would want a safety. And I knew that they would want one so badly that they wouldn't just wait for the waiver wire where somebody could claim one ahead of them. So I started emailing all the beat writers I knew in towns that had teams that had some kind of association to the Eagles, right?
Funny.
And I kept saying, hey, is your team have a safety who's playing well, who probably won't make the team? You know, one of those guys who all the fans love, but you know that they're really not going to make the team. And one guy stuck out to me, right? It was in Cleveland. And the beat writer who I believe worked for the Akron Beacon Journal said, yeah, he's been playing really well and he's having a really good training camp. And I looked at his stats and I saw all these preseason interceptions. He had a great preseason, you know, like the ones that you always see and the fans fall in love with the guy and then he gets cut, right? I said, you know what? I'm going to put this guy on my 53-man roster for the
David
Eagles.
Sims. Oh, my God.
David Sims.
What a call.
I put on my 53-man roster.
It's a great idea.
And I submitted it. And no, I didn't submit it, but I definitely published it in the newspaper. And with the write-up, I explained. I said, here's what they're going to do. They're probably going to wind up getting this guy from Cleveland. I don't know if I predicted a trade. I may have said they're going to pick him up when he gets cut. But nonetheless, I put David Sims on my 53-man roster, and I was right.
They traded for him.
Yeah, they traded for him. So
did he ever play for them? That was the greatest
accomplishment.
That was a good.
He played the entire year, actually. He was a backup.
Yeah, wow.
And then I forget who got hurt, but he wound up starting a game in Indianapolis against the Colts. And, you know, it was an interesting story. He was a good guy. He knew who I was, by the way. There was so much like kind of social media hysteria because when that happened, people were tweeting at him, hey, Geoff Mosher actually picked you to be on the Eagles roster.
Pretty good. That's pretty damn good. Yeah,
it was really cool. It was really fun. Nice. And, you know, of everything I say in my Eagles beat career, that might be the best analysis I've ever given. So with that, we will go in and look at the Eagles.
I don't know if I don't know if we're going to have a David. Yeah, it's too early to figure out.
No, I'm not ready for that yet.
No, I've got some sleepers for you. We gave you, you know, we talked about Manasseh Bailey in our last show. Right. Michael Warren, Adrian Killens, and a couple other players, but I've got three of them for you. So let's get started.
All right. Well, let's start where the Eagles always start on defense, and that's up front with the defensive line. This is an area, Adam, where you can't have too many for the Eagles, where you might get into a number and you're like, wow, you're going to keep like 11 or 12 defensive linemen. No, you know, the Eagles have done that before. They're really big into rotating, we know. And we'll start at defensive end because I think that's where the most competition really is. Obviously, now when I did my 53-man roster on InsideTheBirds.com, I believe I had the Eagles keeping 6 defensive ends with the assumption that Deshaun Hall is on PUP anyway.
Yeah.
Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett to me are your starters unless something happens with Barnett. But I mean, as we sit here today, and then you've got a pretty interesting competition for backups. You've got Josh Sweat, Jannard Avery, Sharif Miller, and don't forget about Joe Ostman, who tore his ACL but should be ready to compete for a job here in the spring and summer.
Yeah, he'll be on it. Joe Ostman will be on the roster.
Joe Ostman.
Yeah, I'm told he's doing really well from his ACL reconstruction, rehab, doing great. He'll be ready for training camp. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Sweat right now is the 3. Jannard Avery has to have a role. It's a damn shame he's not going to have an off season. You know, what makes it worse is that the new defensive line coaches, because that room's had changes, they're not going to be able to work with him this offseason on the field. As I said earlier, hopefully they're with him in July and August. But if Sharif Miller didn't play last season, Ostman also didn't play because of his knee injury before the season started. So that's it. I don't see any surprises. Like when just checking into it in terms of defensive end, the tackle, there may be some surprises. But Casey Toohill, look, they kept 7 last year.
Right.
Deshaun Hall did make it because of his unbelievable preseason. Then he fell asleep. He just didn't play. I don't know I never understood that. That was odd to me, Geoff. Toohill, you know, could he push Miller or Ostman off the roster? Theoretically, yeah, it'll be harder this year because he's not going to have an off season. But that's it. I think the 6 names you gave that would be my 6.
So I have 2 observations on this. One, I kind of like that after Barnett and Graham, Adam, you almost have an equal level competition in that Sweat has a year on Miller, but they're both 4th round picks, right? Josh Sweat's a 4th round pick. Sharif Miller is a 4th round pick. And Jannard Avery was a 3rd-round pick by Cleveland, but the Eagles traded, I believe, a 4th-round pick to get him, right?
Yep.
So if you really want to look at it from an Eagles vantage
point. He was a 5th rounder, just so you know, he's a 5th rounder.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was a 5th rounder.
In
but
18,
the Eagles,
yes.
Yeah, Eagles traded a 4th-rounder to get him, right?
Yep, correct.
All right. So if you look at it through an Eagles lens, they feel like they have 3 4th-round picks, all of different skill sets, around the same age. And to me, this is let the competition decide who's going to win not necessarily win the spot, because they're probably all going to be on team, but who's going to win the playing time. That to me is the most important thing.
Right. Now, if they do sign Vinny Curry or another veteran, then you could be looking at 7 or
okay.
Or let's put it this way. They go into August and the preseason, if there is one, and pushing when they have their initial 53 in early September, it could be they put that this pushes Sharif Miller or eventually off the roster. Who knows?
But really, over Joe Osman. I was wondering if Jannard Avery's presence kind of pushes Joe down a little bit, because Avery's they're both kind of move pieces, unlike the others. They're both kind of like the motor guys, but Avery is clearly a better athlete.
He's on the roster, but right. My issue is with Miller, that he to me, and I get he's a 4th-round pick. I mean, he didn't play last year. It was expected he wouldn't play. He's more a little bit of a long-term project, and that's the way look. It's never about year one for draftees. Whatever you get out of them is great. It's about the totality of their career and what they could provide. But not having an off season for him, I think is a problem. Osman, by the way, this is his 3rd year, not 2nd.
Right.
I know he didn't play last year because of the injury. We're talking about this in May now. There's a lot that's going to develop. The thing is, what I find fascinating is that we know that they have interest in bringing Curry back. There are some people would say, it's fine that you bring him back, but don't you need to develop Avery? You give him a chance. Sharif Miller a chance. Casey Tuhill is a rookie. Osman. All these guys in training camp. Don't you want these young guys to get snaps over a guy like Curry? Don't you have to find out some point? And I think it's a fair assessment. This is what some people have said to me.
That's fair. I agree. That's fair.
Yeah. And I know you were talking last year. You've been on, since we've been doing the show, you've been on the young player bandwagon. You want to see, it was like, you had said that when I brought up in December that don't be shocked if Jason Peters comes back. It sounds ridiculous, but I'm just hearing that it's in the cards for him potentially to come back. You had said all along, forget it. Let Dillard start. And you know what? I'm on that track. This roster's really good, by the way. This roster's way better last year on paper. So why not go with it? I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah, I don't have anything against bringing Vinny Curry back, because I think he can help and he was productive. But I agree with the point that even if he's back, guys like Sweat, Avery, Miller will probably get the first opportunity to get snaps, or at least prove themselves, kind of like it was last year. I mean, Sweat had the opportunity to prove himself, and he played fairly well at times. I mean, there were times where he wasn't, but by the end of the year, when it was time to win some games and get into the playoffs, they trusted Vinny more. So they let it play out. And, Barnett got hurt too. That helped get Vinny in there. But I imagine the same thing would happen. Sweat and Miller and Avery, and we'll see with Osman, we'll all get opportunities. But I still think it's helpful to have Vinny on the roster in case it doesn't pan out. At least you have something that you can tap into that has been successfip for you.
That, and the thing, though, one of the things going against bringing Curry back is last year, remember, you had the Malik Jackson injury. So you're not going to have Vinny moving inside as a nickel pass rusher. You don't need to do that because they are so deep. No team as deep as this team is at defensive tackle. They are, and we'll get to that in a second because there's going to be a little interesting little nugget I picked up this week. But that's a fact. You're right. The way you set up is absolutely true. There's going to be, right now Sweat would be the 3, but who's 4, who's 5, who's 6, who's 7? If they're keep 7. That's going to be decided in training camp. That's actually going to be a pretty good battle, I think.
There's not a whole lot. I always say this. There's not a real whole lot of true competition at training camp for jobs these days, over the last few years.
Yeah.
But especially for starting spots. But we know how important the line rotation is and how even if you're a backup, you can see significant time. And so I will say this will be, knock on wood, there's a training camp, probably one of the most watched competitions there are, and who's going to get these snaps behind Brandon Graham and Derek Barnett.
Correct.
I think it's going to be fascinating.
Yep. I look forward to that one. Yep.
Yeah. So defensive tackle, as you mentioned, it's got the first three are pretty much maybe in first three are set. You got whatever way you want to slice it. Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Malik Jackson. It's the next two or three where where competition will decide. I got when Andrew DeCecco did his defensive tackle, when he did his 53 man, he had a guy on it, Adam, that shocked me. Okay, because he had the three that I just mentioned. He had Hassan Ridgeway as a fourth and Raekwon Williams.
Yep, that's where I'm going. Yep,
you and Andrew are on the same page.
Yeah, I am stunned that he didn't get drafted. I have a little bit of an intel on the player. He had grades around the NFL from rounds 5 through 7. His upside is to be a fourth tackle. Not a super great athlete, but he's got size. He's about 6'4". This is a smart signing by the Eagles. I think it's going to be for the 50 tackle. It's going to be between he and Rush. I don't see Hector and Albert Huggins pushing. I just don't see it. I think it's Rush. Rush has to keep his weight down. That's going to be his challenge to be an NFL player. Raiders never really should have cut him. They got lucky that no one claimed him and he went to the practice squad, and then the Eagles signed him off there because the Eagles, as you know, they cut him a day or two into training camp, really for no reason. He never got a chance to get started. They made a decision to drop him, and then obviously it came back to bite him. They got lucky. So Raekwon Williams is a talented player who's going to have a chance to push Rush. I think even without an offseason for Raekwon Williams, that's how talented he is. If Rush keeps his weight down, I had heard he's told people close to him that he pledged to drop weight. If he does that, if he could get down to 345 with his length, he'll have a real chance. But playing at 360, 365 is not going to work.
No, that's enormous, especially in a one gap, get up the field quick. I don't know how you can get up the field quickly at 365 pounds, Adam.
Yeah, he's got to be his weight in his career. If he's at 320, 325 later in his career, that'd be great. But remember, he's naturally a big guy. He's built like Akeem Hicks, very similar length, over 6'4", long arms, talented kid. But he played in a program at UAB that it's just not a football program.
Right.
It's one that, remember, they lost it and they brought it back or whatever, something like that. So Raekwon Williams is my sleeper, and keep an eye on him in training camp.
Now there's like 4 or 5 guys in the NFL now named Raekwon.
Raekwon Williams, right?
Raekwon McMillan from the Dolphins.
He spells it differently, right? Raekwon.
Yeah, they do.
Right,
they do.
Right.
Are you a big Wu-Tang fan?
No.
Come on, you're not a big Wu-Tang fan?
Not really.
The original Raekwon is from the Wu-Tang Clan.
I did not know that.
Well, now you know.
Thank you very
much. In fact, you know how there's a bunch of kids named Shaquille now, like even in the NFL, you got Shaq Lawson, you got Shaq Barrett, right? You got Shaq from the guard from the Patriots, and then the cornerback from the
Shaq Mason,
Shaq Mason. That's all because of Shaquille O'Neal. Did you know a single person named Shaquille before Shaquille O'Neal came along? I can't.
No. Shaq, yeah, exactly.
I didn't know a single Raekwon until Wu-Tang Clan came along, and now you're seeing a cottage industry of parents naming their kids Raekwon. I love it.
There you go.
All right, so you think they're keeping 5 then? You would say Cox, Hargrave, Jackson, Ridgeway, and either Rush or Raekwon, or do you think they go 7 and keep both?
Look, here's the problem.
I meant 6.
We have to be careful about how deep we go because you can't keep. Remember, it's still 53, but the practice squad's bigger, and on for game day you could sign 2 players off the practice squad. One's got to be a quarterback if you sign 2.
Right.
Let's put it this way. I learned last year with the Eagles that as preposterous as it is to keep 70 ends, what I've learned in this business is you never say never, and players play themselves on and off the roster. Deshaun Hall, because of his crazy preseason, who did not have a great training camp, but he had an unbelievable preseason during the games. He played himself on the roster. How could you possibly cut him after whatever he had? He led the preseason. He led teams with sacks in the preseason. How could you cut him?
It was crazy.
Right.
It was. He was the David Sims of the Eagles last year.
But did Sims have a great preseason for the Eagles? For the Browns.
3 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles.
Right, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Okay.
So let me ask you then, is it possible that if they really like Rush's development and Raekwon Williams plays well,
You can't
that
keep 60 tackles.
no,
Oh,
I'm
no.
wondering. I mean, Hassan Ridgeway came back on a 1-year deal.
Oh, yeah. Trade him. Maybe they trade him.
Or, yeah, I'm just wondering if what by hook or crook Hassan Ridgeway does not make the team because these two guys.
No, they would trade him. They wouldn't cut him. Here's why. I'm told that his offseason last year was good, and then he turned it up in training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Had he not gotten hurt, he was making the team. I mean, he was. I mean, he was going to be with them. It's another good trade. This is another good find for them. And if you remember, did they trade? I think they made a trade during the draft for him.
Yeah, it was a 6th-round pick, I think, for Ridgeway, right?
Which I thought was crazy. I was like, what? I'll give the Eagles credit for something. I don't know if it was Roseman or Andy Weidel. Their pro guys do a damn good job because they're finding these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Hassan Ridgeway was not a guy that, he went to Texas and he was a guy that people knew, but
right.
The Colts were not very high on him. And obviously it might have been Andrew Berry. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know.
That's a good point.
Who knows? But anyway.
All right. So we'll it's going to be probably 5 or 6 defensive tackles. I can't see 7 unless.
Oh, 7 defensive. You mean no?
Tackles.
Well, yeah, it'll be either 4 or 5. It won't be 6. There's zero chance that happens.
I thought they kept 6 last year. No, 1, 2, 3.
Well, what happened is they brought a couple guys back because remember Malik Jackson got hurt.
That's right.
Ridgeway got hurt.
That's right.
It got to be so bad that Rush had to start. If you remember, they ran out of players. Albert Huggins might have started. I mean, it's unbelievable what they had to do.
Right. I know on my personal 53 man that I did last week, I kept 5 with Ridgeway and Rush as the main backup. So we'll see.
Okay.
All right. I want to stop real quick just to let our friends know about DraftKings. Breaking news, DraftKings Sportsbook. Yes, that DraftKings is now offering a mobile casino in Pennsylvania. DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino offers an endless amount of casino games to play, all from the comfort and safety of your home. And right now, all first-time casino players can play up to $200 risk-free for the first 24 hours of casino play. So go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and find casino games in the top navigation bar to start playing. Options, you want options, you got slots, blackjack, roulette, table games with live dealers and more. DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino is a legal, safe, and secure than secure gaming app. You can deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Plus, DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino is offering special promotions every day, so be sure to check the app daily. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino app now and use promo code ITB to play risk-free up to $200 of casino games for your first 24 hours. That's promo code ITB to play risk-free up to $200 for your first 24 hours of casino play on DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only, in partnership with Hollywood Casino and Penn National Racecourse. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/book for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, let's move on to linebacker. Everybody's favorite position.
Jobs are open. Jobs are open here. I'm telling you, man. They don't have it's interesting. They only have, I think, 8 linebackers on the roster, which is a little bit surprising to me. Not the season starting today, but right now it's the 2 guys I think you could put in pencil, not pen, because would be Nate Gary, Ken Flajol's favorite.
Yeah.
TJ Edwards. It's like he's his own son or something. TJ Edwards at middle. The other outside positions open between Jatavis Brown, Duke Riley. Those would be the 2. Davion Taylor's more of a project. He'll be a sub-package player. Whenever it works for him, whenever he figures it out, whenever he's ready to go, Geoff, he's going to be a sub-package player. And that would be it. Now, I'm going to give you a sleeper. And the guy was a combine invitee, unlike I don't think Raekwon Williams was, but Dante Olson out of Montana absolutely would have been drafted, save for one issue. His 40 time was awful. 4.88, which is just better than offensive lineman. That's going to get you not drafted. But he had draftable grades. He's got good size, 6'2" and 3/8, 237 at the combine, 15 on the bench, which is okay. But he ran a very slow 40 time. His official time is 4.88. That got him not drafted.
Right.
He's another guy. if he could have a good training camp, he's going to make it interesting. Sean Bradley, the kid from Temple, is probably on the outside looking in. So is Alex Singleton.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's Gary, Edwards, Riley, Jatavis Brown, and Taylor. What do you think?
Well, I don't want to. I kind of like Singleton on special teams. I think that's what he's best at. And the Eagles really need at position like linebacker to make sure that they've got special teams in mind when it comes to the bottom of their roster there. So I think, Gary and I've been on the record as saying I think TJ Edwards is better than people give him credit for. I predicted him making the team last year. I think he's entrenched right now. It's not like he can't be beat out ever, but I think Gary and Edwards are number one and number two. I wouldn't surprise me if they kept 6 linebackers, Adam, just because they have athleticism here at the bottom.
Right. One thing though, just one thing. Where are they going to go shorter then? If they're going to keep 6, you're talking about keeping 5 D tackles, 6 D ends. Right. You're going to have to go thin somewhere. I do think they're going to go thin at tight end. I think they're really only going to keep 2. Okay. How about O-line? You think they can do 8? Then you might have to go 8 O-linemen.
I think there's a chance they can go 8 offensive linemen, depending on how many guys they want to.
Or no more.
It depends on what they think of Pryor and whether Pryor is definitely on team, or they want to just keep Driscoll and Mailata as their main backups. It's flexible. It also depends on how many safeties they want to keep at him. I don't know.
We'll get to that. Yeah, that's another
Ford
one.
And Epps are going to be on the team.
Or corners.
They have,
right.
Yeah,
sure.
they have Maddox who can play multiple positions. They have Wallace and Mills who can play multiple positions. So I think they kept 5 linebackers last year. There's certainly room to keep one more and go short in another area if they wanted.
All right, so you have.
By the way, they kept more running backs last year. I think they kept 4 or no, they kept.
They definitely kept 4. Yeah, they might have kept 5. I don't remember.
Yeah, they had Howard, they had Sanders, they had Sproles, and
Corey Clement.
And Clement. So they kept 4. Yeah.
It was last year was Scott, Clement.
No, Boston Scott didn't make the team coming out. He was still on the practice squad, I believe.
No, he saw. Okay, I think he was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're correct. He was.
It was Smallwood. Did they not have Wendell? I can't even remember. No,
they cut him. They cut him. Washington picked him up. Yeah, you're right. They signed him off their practice squad. They New Orleans decided not to keep him. They want to put him in the practice squad. Later on. I would say I'm going to go with 5. You're going with. So you think Singleton will make it? Okay.
Well, he's certainly not a lock. I mean, like you mentioned, Gary, Edwards, Davion Taylor, and I think Duke Riley and Brown are going to make the team. Jatavis Brown.
Here's what I'm going to.
Like I said, Jatavis has got his proof he can stay healthy. He's not a lock just because they signed him as a free agent.
The only thing, though, if Jatavis Brown does not make it, they are super duper young. I mean, they don't have any veterans. Brown's the only veteran they have at linebacker. Look, I'm fine. This is
Gary's 4th season now, right?
Yeah, he's still on his rookie contract. Be okay. Yeah. Look, he was on the Super Bowl team, so it counts. Yeah. He didn't play, but
this will be what, season 3 for Duke Riley, or it would be season 2?
This is no. This is Duke Riley's final year. Should be. Yep.
So it's either 3 or 4 for him, right?
It's 4. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you got a 2 4-year players at that position. I mean, it's not like, you're right. They don't have their normal Zach Brown or D'Amico Ryans or Nigel Bradley. By the way, Nigel Bradham's still out there.
I know, but I would be very surprised. Yeah, I would. Okay. I've not heard his name coming back, but yeah, you're right. I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot about that. Who's to say that they want to add a linebacker, a veteran? It's surprising me that they would only have 8 going to training camp. Plus, now if we do have a preseason, Geoff. Like, you don't have to do this now, but it would surprise me with preseason that you're going to only dress, or you're going to have 8, because in the 4th preseason game, let's say, you may, if TJ Edwards and Nate Gary are starting, you're probably not going to play them. You're probably going to, you may only dress 4 or 5, I guess, because the 4th preseason game is always about the last couple spots. So we'll see. Not a big deal. That's the way I see a linebacker.
So neither of us think Sean Bradley's going to make that last spot.
I find it. It's going to be hard. You know what I'm going to do this week on our message board? I'm going to put my initial names on there. I want to just narrow it down to 53 because it's it's interesting when you try to do this because you got to think like you're a personnel guy. you got to be careful of how heavy you go at one position, because then you got to go thin elsewhere. I like your thought though at tight end only going with 2. I could see that.
Right.
It's a little because it's not advisable, but they proved they can do it last year. Just have a guy on the practice squad. The only problem is if you go into a game with only 2 and a guy gets hurt, you're in major trouble. Then you just have to use a tackle. Right. That guy's got to block the whole game, and Ertz. If it's Ertz, the guy who's healthy, he goes out. There's your pass catcher. But look, it's not like they haven't done it before.
Yeah, on my projection, I had them going short at safety, only 4, and we'll talk about that, and short at tight end with 2. And then I had Gary, Edwards, Taylor, Riley. I think Riley's going to get a chance to compete. I'm talking about Duke Riley.
For sure. For the other outside shot.
And then I put Singleton on. But I will be the first to say that I don't think that that's etched in stone by any means. He can be beat out. And by the way, to carry on one of the points you made about Dante Olson, who I don't think is going to make it, but I think it's really interesting. Personnel source used this characterization of him to me: tackling machine. So I thought that was very interesting.
You know what? They need one of those guys.
Very high on him.
Yeah, he's not,
absolutely.
He is not small. He's just under 246, over 6'2". Again, had he not run with a sundial on his back at the combine, I don't know what happened. Yeah, it's a shame because he would have been drafted. I mean, Montana's not exactly a football powerhouse.
Yeah,
the kid had draftable tape, man. I've heard it. Look, this kid could play, and as your source said, the guy's a tackling machine. They look, anyone who could make a play at linebacker would be appreciated, because this has been a problem for them for years.
Now, didn't Marty Morningweg play at Montana? He was a quarterback at Montana.
Sounds right. Yeah, I definitely in the state of Montana. Yes.
Yeah. What's there? Are they like the Grizzlies or something? Do you know?
Correct. There's Montana State and there's Montana. Yeah.
I think Marty Morningweg was a quarterback at Montana. Little fact that you might not have known. So let's move on to the defensive backfield.
You're gonna make me look it up. No, just go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I have to stop for a second and just tell everybody about phlsportsnation.com. They're great affiliates of ours. You got to check out their website, their podcasts, their coverage of the Eagles, the Sixers, the Flyers, the Phillies. phlsportsnation.com, enhancing the fan experience with all of their great coverage of Philadelphia sports. Make sure you check them out. We appreciate their partnership, and we think they do a fantastic job covering all the teams and producing wonderful content. And right now, real quick, before we get into cornerback and safety and finish this off, we will pause for a word from our great sponsors. All right, so we've got cornerback and safety here.
All right.
And it's amazing because this is, I think, probably the part of the team, Adam, that's undergone so much change that it was actually fun to do these roster projections.
This is hard.
It was hard. It was hard and fun. Yeah.
Well, so safety is hard as hell. I don't. Go ahead.
Well, safety I almost thought was a little easier because there are the people with names and then there are people with no names there. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not, but the thing is, I'm not, because of the Will Parks is on a 1-year deal. Jalen Mills is on a 1-year deal.
Right.
Now it's easy to say, yeah, I know we're going to really start a corner, but just to give an example of how tough it is. I'm not leaving. I'm like Marcus Epps is on there. Okay. Marcus Epps, he probably won't make it, but there's going to be an opportunity here for someone to shock the world. This happens a lot when you go around the league. The guy comes out of nowhere and beats a veteran out or beats a guy you think should be making it. There's going to be an opportunity because defensively, we said at linebacker, there's so much opportunity. By far, that's the position on the football team where there's an opportunity to make the team and contribute. Right. Corner, there is definitely, which we'll get to in a second, and safety there is too. So we'll see.
All right, so let's talk corner. I mean, I think the first two are etched in stone, and that's Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox. I mean, I really think Nickel Roby-Coleman's going to be on the team, but you do have to keep in mind that he only signed a 1-year deal. I mean, they do have some other guys in Sydney. They do have Crevan LeBlanc, who, when he plays, I like watching him play at him. He's a playmaker from that slot position. I don't know.
Physical, yep, tough.
Yeah, I don't know if he can force Roby-Coleman out or they would just keep both. But
he won't. He won't. He doesn't run well enough. Yeah, Roby-Coleman, team source told me, they see Roby-Coleman as a top 5 nickel corner. That's how good they think he is. Mm-hmm. He can run. He's physical, but he's got one issue, which there's nothing he can do about it. He's 5'7" and 210 inch.
He's tiny. There's nothing you can do about that. He can't coach height.
Yeah.
So he's going to be number 3. And look, we can go back to Patrick Robinson, right? Patrick Robinson had such a bad camp in first 2 weeks of camp in 2017.
He looked bad, awful.
We were all convinced he was going to get cut, and he didn't, and he wound up being one of their team MVPs. So even if Nickel Roby-Coleman, for whatever reason, has a tough day or in camp or two, he's almost surely going to make the team unless he gets hurt or something.
Yes, because Corey Von LeBlanc is got a lot going for him, but he just does not have the speed. He can also back up at safety. He's had snaps there before. But overall, Geoff, I think you're right. It's Maddox, it's Slay, Roby-Coleman's your 3. Now, here's the thing. I'm putting Sidney Jones on the roster. Right now, he'd be their 4th corner. There's Trevor Williams, who you might remember started some games for the Chargers years ago, who's on the roster. They're very light at corner. They don't have a lot of depth.
Now you have a sleeper, and so do I. I wonder if we have the same sleeper.
Well, I have Rasul Douglas off the roster.
So do I.
I have to check on this. I cannot remember a player on a rookie contract that took a pay cut. I've never heard of that before, but he did. He took a major pay reduction.
Right.
The guy. Well, actually, it's not new because I said it on a previous show.
That's right. I think you did mention.
Yeah, Prince Smith could flat out fly. He's 5'10" and 185. He's from New Hampshire. He could really run, but he's just not. He's competitive. This kid could play. I'm probably going to give them 5 corners.
Right.
He could. Well, this is another position they're not great at in terms of depth. None of them are proven. Sidney Jones is far from proven. LeBlanc is far from proven. Douglas, I don't see how he makes it. Trevor Williams is not proven. He's been cut before.
Right.
So look, he's going to have a chance.
I tell you, I'm in my story on InsideTheBirds.com last week, my projection story. I had 5 corners. I had Slay, Maddox, Coleman, Sidney Jones, top 4, and then my 5th one was Prince Smith. And
I have him on there?
I did it for 2 reasons. One, there's about 2. There's always at least 1, and sometimes 2 or 3 rookie free agents that make the team every year, and you never think they're going to do it, but they do. And last year you had Herbig and TJ Edwards, and I want to say that there was a third, wasn't there? A third,
maybe a lineman. Let's me see.
I'll go check, but I know. Go ahead.
No, Sudapato, who signed off the practice squad.
Right.
That's pretty. It's impressive. Yeah,
there's
I don't
2
know.
or 3 that make it every year, and so I was looking at all my others, and I only have 1. I think I had on offense maybe somebody making it. I couldn't remember.
But anyway, So you've got Prince Smith over Douglas. Wait a minute, you've got Maddox,
Von LeBlanc. I have.
You have LeBlanc off the roster, huh?
I did. I kept 5 with Smith as my 5. Now going back to what you said. I can definitely see a scenario where Prince Smith plays well and they keep Smith and LeBlanc, and Sidney Jones doesn't play well. He has a bad camp and they get rid of him. I think they're looking for a reason to tell Sidney Jones, take a hike, right? And it's not like he has a lot of money owed to him. He's on the last year of his rookie deal because he missed the first year, right? He'd be a restricted free agent.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
He was on the non-football injury list long enough that he did not get accrued season year 1.
Right.
So that's look. It's Sidney Jones. His salary is $1.3 million, just a little bit over that. There's no guaranteed money in it. They could cut him. Look, they're not married to him. It has not worked out at all so far. Last season was a disaster. So, look, he's got to get himself together here. The thing is, he's got a pro body. He's athletic. That's all he's got going for him. He's not shown that he deserves to be on the football team going forward. He is
not the slightest bit.
No, he's got to earn it. You and I are seeing it the same way. I'm going to put him on the roster for now because he's got length. But Sidney? It would not. Yes, it would not surprise.
Yeah, no, I have him. Yeah, I have him on the roster now.
But it would not surprise me.
A scenario, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. So you've got it. We got it. Maddox. You and I agree. Maddox, Slay.
Yep.
Sidney Jones.
Roby-Coleman,
and then the 5th you have Prince Smith. Now that's where
Prince Smith.
I've got LeBlanc over Prince Smith. Boy, there's an opportunity. I just wish Prince Smith would have a off season.
Well, I agree with you on that, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. It might be this is the year that rookie free agents don't make the team as much as in the past because of the lack of preseason camps. That would make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go on to safety. Honestly, this to me, Adam, wasn't that difficult because you've got Maddox, who has position versatility and can play safety if need be, and then some of these safeties have versatility as well. So Rodney McLeod's going to be on the team. He's their only real veteran. Jalen Mills they brought back to play a specific kind of interior defender position. Will Parks they signed to a 1-year deal, and Kevon Wallace they drafted. And when I was putting my projection together, I said, you know what? If you keep 5 corners and 4 safeties, that's 9. I don't know if they're going to pull a hamstring to try to keep Rudy Ford or Marcus Epps on the roster. I just don't know they're going to do that.
Yeah. So Parks has a very light guarantee, 1.3 million.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Mills has got $2 million guaranteed in his contract. What I'm saying is I'm just going to give an opportunity for someone to shock the world here. Rudy Ford can flat out fly. They love him on special teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to keep him on the roster other than because he's just not going to get in the rotation safety. They see him as a special teams player. He was terrific before he got hurt. That's another good find for them.
But now that they've picked up so many of these offensive players who can fly, who can return kicks and return punts, doesn't that kind of lessen?
Well, coverage. He's a coverage guy, but yeah,
well, he could be a coverage guy. Yeah,
no, that's what he is. That's Rudy Ford is a coverage player.
Right.
We'll leave it open. You're right. McLeod, Mills, Parks, and Wiles should be their 4. Rudy Ford counts as a safety. He'll be the 5th. I don't see Epps making it. But
Mm-hmm.
Epps is a guy that they knew. They knew him from Minnesota. They did some work on him. There was a good waiver claim he had to play.
Mm-hmm.
He won't push the top 3 guys off, and he won't push Wallace off. Just a matter of will they keep a 5th safety. But again, if you do that, you're going to have to go light somewhere else. Receiver, to me, we have them for 6. It's hard to imagine a scenario where Arcega-Whiteside, if healthy, is not going to be on the roster. He gives them some size, which they need at the position.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, there's guaranteed money in his contract in the second year. I still think he'll make it, but there are going to be some surprises whenever training camp happens. There's an opportunity here. You and I could look at it and say 43 to 45 players you could say are pretty much locks. 6 to 8. There's 6 to 8 players here who are going to have a real opportunity. Linebacker, 1 or 2 guys are going to have an opportunity. Corner, you mentioned Prince Smith. Yeah, he's going to have an opportunity, I'm told, because he can run. He's got ability. There's going to be opportunity for offensive linemen, no question. Receiver, no question. Running back, they like to see Warner Killens push Holyfield for a spot. And again, as you know, I've been reporting for like 2 or 3 weeks now. They're looking to sign a veteran running back. We'll see if they can get that done. So there are going to be some tough cuts here. And look, remember, folks, there are 12 roster spots for practice squads this year. So let's see how it happens.
Real quick before we end this off, I'm really intrigued by Parks because I almost don't get it. Meaning, we had Greg Cosell, twice, right? And at one point he mentioned Parks and said he thought after watching tape that he really liked what he saw on tape from Parks. And I've had that discussion with a couple other players too. Not players, other analysts, to the point where I wonder what the Broncos didn't see or why it only took about $1 million to sign him. There's just a very big discrepancy in his contract and demand for him versus what people are saying about him. And I don't understand where the disconnect is.
Corey Nelson, remember Corey Nelson was brought in here 2 years ago to be a starting outside linebacker. Didn't work out. They cut him. I might be wrong. Did he make it to training camp?
He made it to training camp.
Okay, he was so bad. Like I don't even think it came down to the
I think he was 53. In the first wave of cuts, though, not the second one where it comes down to
so that's not good, man. That's not good. And Parks, fully guaranteed money at signing is $1.375 million. I'm looking at his contract right now.
Say it again.
That's $1.375 million. That's not a lot of money. That's cuttable to me. He's got to prove himself.
Right.
So that's why I said there's an opportunity here for some of these undrafted kids. They got Elijah Riley, Graylin Arnold, who are long shots. But look, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting because people who have watched tape and watched Parks play talk about him like he's way better than a $1.05 million player. So I guess we'll find out.
Right. He claimed he turned down a bigger deal to get an opportunity.
Yeah, but it's not like you turned down $10 million. You know
right,
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. Good point. And that's fair. That was my thinking. So he'll have a chance here to start. Right now, the Eagles are thinking it's going to be Mills, but next to McLeod. But Jalen Mills Parks is a better athlete. So we'll see how that happens. We'll see how that goes down here. Again, it's the first time in many years that there's a lot of opportunity for some bottom of the end roster guys, not only to make it, to actually push for playing time. So we'll see how it breaks down. And so I like doing these roster breakdowns. We didn't do this last year. I'm glad we're doing it like this.
Yeah, I do too. And to put a wrap on safety, I still think that at the end of the day, you're looking at the top 4 and Avonte Maddox being the 5th if needed. I don't know if they're going to dig much deeper.
So if they keep 4 safeties, right? He's got that ability to do it. Sure.
Right. Instead of going light somewhere and keeping, Epps or Ford, they may just say Maddox can play safety.
Hey, look, I know a team that's looking at Logan Ryan at safety.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. They're doing it because he's older. They see him as a nickel corner. They're trying to figure out a way to make it work because they have their slot corner.
Right.
And look, he's an older player. We've seen it. Corners that toward the edge of their career, they some move to safety. So yeah, the Eagles are doing it now with Jalen Mills. He just doesn't run well enough. We've seen Maddox do it. He had to do it his rookie season. It was that Tennessee game where Rodney had the ACL injury, so they had to figure out coming into the game what they can do. So look, it's the more you can do kind of league, and this is how guys extend their career.
Awesome. All right, we've just profiled the entire defense and gave our best 53-man projection for that side of the how many did we wind up? I guess we didn't really total up how many it would be. Probably somewhere in the 26 to 27.
We're probably a little bit heavy, but I'm going to go on the message board this week and I'm going to put it down there and I'll see if I could. And then what I'll do is, here's my initial 53. Here are the guys that are pushing. Probably going to be 5 or 6. And what we'll do is, again, we'll late June, early July for training camps hopefully start. We'll revisit this because some of these guys will be cut. There are going to be a couple guys are going to be cut, just the way it is, and a couple guys could be at it.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. Big thanks to our producer, Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube, Sports Talk with Broads. Check out his podcast, Processed, with former Villanova basketball star Darrell Reynolds. Check out his work on Twitter, @Broads81. And, of course, he's the co-host now of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Remember, Inside the Birds will be doing football at 4 on 97.3 ESPN for the foreseeable future. Please check out Inside the Birds YouTube page and also InsideTheBirds.com. We're going to have a lot of good stuff up this week.
Let me add this. So by 10 a.m. every Monday, I'm going to drop it's going to be a mailbag every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. It'll be your questions on Apple. If you rate and review, subscribe there. We'll take them from our message board. I'll add this right now. I'll take a couple. I'm going to take like 2 or 3. I want to get the last one was really long. That took me like 2 hours to write it. But I want to take like 7 or 8 questions. The best 7 or 8 are going to get on there. I promise you. And
there you go.
That's the way we'll do it.
Yeah, and we definitely put a little weight on the people who give us the 5-star reviews and ask us a question on their podcast platforms where they can review us. And we always appreciate those 5-star reviews and comments. And InsideTheBirds.com, Andrew DeCecco and I are working on a series, kind of an off-season recap series that'll start on Monday. We're going to, go through the best acquisitions, best draft pick, most toughest guy to replace this year. So we'll have a couple of categories that we'll be writing about. And so make sure you check out InsideTheBirds.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.